Keith, can you tell me if Jack is on? Do you see him on?
He's not on.
John Combs,
Yes, sir.
may have you go first if he's not on, and then I'll switch our order.
We'll rock and roll, whatever you need.
Okay, Amanda, are you prepared for that if that's what I need to do?
Yep, just let me know.
Okay,
I'll look in the participants. If I don't see him after you're done, then I'll start with Coach Combs.
okay, all right, let's rock and roll. If you'll just let me know, I'm good. Keith, we'll go.
Okay, give me about a minute. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Hello, Team South Carolina. And welcome, captains, to your inaugural South Carolina High School League Captains Course. Let it begin.
Wow, what an exciting day for us here at the South Carolina High School Lead. Over 270 of our winter sports captains joining us today. The Farm Bureau Insurance Winter Sports Captains Workshop covering the sports of basketball, wrestling, and cheer. We have an outstanding group of presenters prepared for you today, and I have a couple of housekeeping things I'd like to mention to our captains. Make sure that you take great notes. If you have any questions during the presentation, if you would put them in our Q&A section or in the chat area so that if time permits, we'll certainly ask our presenters those questions and get the answers for you. At this time, captains, I welcome to the stream the Commissioner of the South Carolina High School League, Dr. Jerome Singleton.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. Good afternoon, and welcome to a great course that's about to begin. Congratulations to you. Your coach thought highly enough of you to ask you to be a part of this course. Understand that this course does not replace the directions or the things that your coach will need you to do. These are just tidbits of what helps to be a successful captain. As captains, you are conduit to your coach. He or she expects you to help them to know what the temperature is of the team. Work hard at this, pay a lot of attention. We've got some great presenters from great coaches, and they're going to just share a few things that are tidbit for them that helps them along the way. Be great captains. Thank you.
Next, you will hear from our Director of Communications.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Ramanda Noble Watson, and I am the Director of Public Relations and Communications at the South Carolina High School League. It is my honor to introduce you to your panelists for today. First, we have Coach John Combs. Coach Combs is the Executive Director of the South Carolina Basketball Coaches Association. He is entering his 4th year as the head basketball coach at Westwood High School. Coach Combs has been coaching high school basketball for over 20 years. His resume includes stints as the head coach at Silver Bluff High School, Ridgeview High School, Ben Lippen, and now Westwood High School. Before coaching high school basketball, Coach Combs served on Eddie Fogle's coaching basketball staff at the University of South Carolina. Here today to speak with you on effective communication with coaches, players, and teachers is Coach John Combs.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. I'd like to thank Commissioner Singleton and Commissioner Brooks for allowing me to speak with you guys and ladies today. I consider it an honor to be here to speak with y'all. And as Commissioner Singleton said, you know, y'all should take it as an honor that your coach or your athletic director or your principal or all the above has selected you to participate in this wonderful thing that I think the high school league does, because you should consider it an honor for to be considered a captain of your team. Now, every high school, every coach does it a little bit differently. Sometimes the captain is selected by the coach. Sometimes it is selected by the peers of the team. Whichever way it is, you should feel honored that they selected you. Okay, so one thing I'm going to start working on right now is I'm going to start sharing a few things. I'm going to go over a lot of things quickly with y'all today. First thing we're going to talk about effective communication with coaches, players, and teachers. I'm just going to give you some of my little bit of knowledge that I have shared over learned and shared and still learning over the course of the time. First thing is, I love this from Alan Stein. He was a friend of mine that has worked as a strength coach. He's a professional speaker. He says, communication builds trust. Trust generates commitment. Commitment forges teamwork, and teamwork drives results. Y'all are in winter sports right now trying to do the very best that you can as a team. And I will tell you, the foundation of any good team is going to be communication that you have within. That's how important communication is. I've never been a part of a successful team that did not have good communication. Now, I will admit I've been a part of good teams that may have struggled with communication at times, but they learned to get better at it. Y'all as captains, first of all, do not expect yourselves to be perfect communicating. Adults are not perfect. Even the best coaches struggle from time to time in communication. So one of the questions is, when do you communicate? You know, when do you communicate? I mean, I want y'all to think about that. How often do you communicate? The reality is it's almost always. You're almost always communicating, almost all the time. And a lot of it is through different means of when you communicate. First thing is, how do you communicate? How are the different means that you communicate? Most people think about talking. Most people think about texting, social media. Well, the first thing is nonverbal. You communicate nonverbally. And I think it is unbelievable how much you do communicate nonverbally. Experts will tell you that anywhere between 70 and 90% of your communication is done nonverbally. It is through how you look at a coach, how you act. It is your body language. I'm sure you've had coaches tell you your body language is important. It's not just with coaches. It's your body language is important with everybody you do. Like, what does your body language say about you when you're in class? It communicates so much to me. I will tell you honestly, that's one of the things that I struggled the most during COVID as a teacher. When I had to teach virtually, it was hard for me to see some of the students' body language. I'm going to share a quick little video with y'all that John Calipari from the University of Kentucky talked about body language.
Pretty basic. So I'm talking a lot about body language because body language screams. It screams for everybody to see. Head down, this. And in most cases, it's an immaturity thing. But the second part of it is a little lack of toughness, mental toughness, that I'm not getting broken down because I missed a couple shots or I fumbled a ball or I missed a free throw. I don't care. I'm tough.
Vanderbilt is up next for Kentucky.
And so one of the things that Coach talked about there, body language, body language, it's a communication tool. Like I said, when you're in class, you've got your head down, you're not looking at the teacher, you are communicating. You are communicating things that you're communicating, you're not paying attention. So you've got to be very careful about what you're communicating with your body language. You might miss a couple of shots, you get pulled out of the game, you're pouting, you've got your head down. You may not be upset at your coach, you may not be upset at anybody but yourself. But you're communicating negative things while you're communicating negative things with your body language that you may not be intending. Now, one of the things I love acronyms. I've been very blessed and fortunate, had an opportunity to work with Coach George Glimpf, a legendary coach at Eau Claire, and he coached in the NBA, coached players like Jermaine O'Neal and other big stars. He loved acronyms. And one of the acronyms that he always used to say for basketball is KYP. I wonder if anybody knows what KYP. I say it all the time to our players. It is know your personnel. And this is the same with communication. Know who you're communicating with. KYP, know, and what do we mean by that? Well, you're going to communicate differently when you communicate with teachers. You're going to communicate differently when you communicate with your friend. You're going to communicate differently when you communicate with your coach. And you need to try to understand them, how to best communicate with them. I heard a story one time, like when you're younger, people used to take medicine different ways. Some people would take the medicine straight, just pop it in and do it. Sometimes people would need their medicine put in applesauce or something sweet, so they would take it. It all works the same. It's just a different way of doing it. Communication is the same way. You've got to figure out a different way sometimes to communicate with people the same thing. There is a different way to communicate with people, whether it be in games or other times, but know who you're communicating with. Know their style. I mean, I've had players that sometimes I need to be firm with. I might need to raise my voice from time to time to really reach them. And then there's other players that doesn't work so well. So when you're communicating people, you're not going to always communicate the same way all the time. Now, let's talk briefly about digital communication. There's a lot of different ways: email, text, social media. You communicate so much through those different means. We'll talk a little bit about email. I think email is a great way to communicate with your teachers. If you ever, for me, I like it when my students, if they ever got a problem, that if they don't want to come talk to me in person, email me. Email them. I would encourage student athletes, if you know that you're struggling in class, maybe you don't want to talk to them in front of everybody. Email them that concern. Most teachers are very receptive to that. I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you, maybe you're going to be out a couple of days because you're traveling for a tournament, or you've got practice late and you need some extra help at different times. Communicate via email that way, and be very think about how, when you talk to them, when you email that way, don't use text slang language. Be very professional. Dear Mrs. So-and-so, dear Dr. So-and-so, dear Mr. So-and-so. Be very respectful of them and try to keep your emails really, really short. And I would encourage you this too. If it is something super important, don't write a long email. If it needs to be something that you need to talk about in person, maybe email them and tell them, hey, look, please, let's sit down and talk. Okay. Set up a time where you can meet with your teacher or meet with your coach. Now we'll talk a little bit about text. Texting is one of those things that, and I'm glad Commissioner Singleton said this earlier, you've got to figure out, you do what your coaches tell you to do with the ways that they want to communicate the best. For me, and I will tell you my team, I don't want my players texting me things that are ultra serious over text. I want them that they need to talk to me, to text me, say, Coach, can we please talk? Then I will pick up the phone and talk to them. I don't like to text back and forth serious matters if there's something really, really intense. But that's me. Maybe your coaches are perfectly fine with that. And maybe you're perfectly good with doing that with your teammates. The one word of caution I would tell you, when you text or even over email digitally, you can never tell it's hard to tell a person's tone of voice. Y'all know there have been times when I'm sure any of y'all have had issues where maybe somebody took what you said wrong because of what you put in a text. Sometimes, your tone of voice does mean a lot when it comes to those different things. And then we're going to go to social media. How do you communicate via social media? Now, sometimes you communicate with social media without ever sending a text. When you retweet or repost different things, are you reposting only things about you? Or do you repost things about your teammates as well? What if you got nominated for a Player of the Year or Player of the Week award, and you're retweeting all those for people to come vote for you to join this Player of the Week award, and then all of a sudden another one of your teammates is up for that award, but you don't repost it, you don't retweet it, you don't promote them? Do you have any idea what you're communicating? You might think, well, I'm not communicating anything. No, really, you're communicating you're more important than your teammate, because you're asking people to do it for you, but not for your teammate. So be very mindful about what you're posting on social media. I would highly encourage you, never, ever, ever, ever post anything negative about your team, your coach, or anybody on the other team, social media, and certainly not the officials. It's not worth it. I've never been around, I don't like to use the word never, but I've never been around a time where I thought, you know what, that was a good idea that we posted something negative to social media. One other thing that I'm a big believer in, we're going to talk about in-person communication. Like, there are a time and place when you need to make a phone call, when a text won't work or email won't work, in-person communication. Now, when I mean in-person, that might even mean just a phone call. Sometimes you can't meet face-to-face. So I would encourage you, if you need to talk to your coach, maybe send them a text message. Coach, we need to talk. It could be something, and I would even say this, not even only with your coach, but your teammates. I think, and this is why I can go back to Coach Glenn, KYP, know your personnel. Y'all have got to try to know best your teammates, what communication style will work best for them. And sometimes private face-to-face conversation is most important. When I mean private, when no other students are around, when maybe it's a conversation in a hallway, those are different than maybe having a conversation in class with other students around. You've got to try to understand best sometimes that you need private conversations, and sometimes when it's okay to talk about things around other people. Just like as a teacher, I always want my students, with athletes or whatever, if they need to talk about something, they want to talk privately, we'll step out in the hallway and talk about something. Maybe they're having an issue. Think about that. Most teachers are open to that. Now, if I make a mistake as a teacher or a coach, I don't mind if my students come talk to me about that mistake, as long as they do it respectfully. And it always is best if it's done in private, not in the front of other people. Here's a couple of sayings that I'm a big believer in. And we talk about communication like we're always saying or doing something. The best communicators in the world are great listeners. So be an active listener and observer of what's going on. Listen to your teammates. Be an observer how they are doing things. You'll understand, if they're not giving great effort, why are they not giving great? And they normally give great effort. Why are they not? Try to understand it. Listen to what they're telling you. Maybe they've got something going on at the house. Maybe, they've had someone in their family pass away recently. Maybe someone's going through an illness. So be an active listener with your teammates. Try to get to understand them better. It's not, you are the captain. You're not expected to have all the answers, but you are expected to be a leader. You are expected to be a voice for that team. And one of the best ways to be a leader is to understand the people that you are leading. And I will admit that is not easy whatsoever, but try to be a good listener of them and what they're doing. One of the things I had an old principal, Dr. Marty Martin, he talked about, and I love this saying, understanding before decision-making. I think it is crucial that you understand before you make a decision necessarily how you communicate, what you communicate. You need to try to understand as much as you possibly can. One story that I had to impact the importance of communication, I had a practice one time when I was a younger coach, and we were going to have a 6 a.m. practice. It was ultra important that I told them all the day before. I said, all right, let's be on time. You cannot be late for practice. If we're going to do it at 6 a.m., I need everybody there. Everybody's like, yes, sir, coach. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then all of a sudden, the next day, we had everybody there except our best player. And I was hot right before practice. I was really mad. I texted him like 5 minutes before, and I asked him, the first thing I asked him was, "Are you okay? And then where are you at?" Because honestly, I didn't know. I was hot. I thought he just overslept, to be very honest at the time, but I didn't want to jump the gun. He texted me back right away. He said, "Coach, I'm sorry. I overslept. I just found out my father passed away." And it was true. His father passed away the night before. And I could have very easily lost my cool that, okay, you're late for practice. I told you here, you didn't communicate with me. So, you know, that was a decision. I could have communicated something really horribly to him, like, you're being selfish, you're late. When the actuality is he was dealing with something a lot more important than basketball practice. So those are some stories and some things to think about. And one other thing about communication, one thing I'd always would encourage you, if you're going to be late to anything, and I should have said this earlier, as soon as you possibly know, let your coach know, let your teammates know that you are going to be late. You know, being late is never acceptable. But if all of a sudden you text your coach 5 minutes before practice starts and say, "Hey, coach, I'm late. I'm 2 hours away." You should have known 2 hours ago that you were going to be late. So make sure you do your very best to communicate as early as possible. And one of the things we talk about in basketball, you want to communicate early, often, and loud. Those things right there. You want to communicate as much as you possibly can early. And that's, we're talking in game there, but that's anytime. You want to communicate often and you want to be loud. The loud part is so you can be heard and understood. I look forward to speaking with y'all some more in our communications piece and maybe question and answer. I put my my contact information I got my email address up there. I'm try to be fairly active on Twitter, depending on what's going on. So I look forward, if y'all ever got any questions, or maybe you don't want to ask here, you can feel free to reach out to me on any of those right there. And once again, I really appreciate the South Carolina High School League for giving me this opportunity today, because I certainly can consider it a blessing to do this.
Thanks so much, Coach Combs. Those were some great points. A lot of the points that we relate to athletics can also be related to real life. So we definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. Our next presenter, our next presenter is Coach Jack Kosmicki. Coach Kosmicki is in his 29th year at Eastside High School, where he is the head wrestling coach and athletics director. During his 29-year tenure, his teams have won 29 regional championships and 17 state championships. He has been the athletics director for 3 years, and in 2022 was named the South Carolina Athletic Director of the Year. Captains, I present to you Coach Jack Kosmicki, who will speak to you about the responsibilities of a captain.
Thank you very much. I don't know if it's working. Can you see me? My name is Jack Kosmicki. I'm the wrestling coach and athletic director at Eastside High School. I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about the responsibilities of a captain. I will tell you that as a wrestling coach, we don't actually have official captains at Eastside Wrestling, but we have kids that are natural leaders that take control of the practice room and of the team and show a lot of these qualities that I'm going to discuss today. And they just show them naturally. And as coaches, we treat them as captains. Let's talk about a couple of the responsibilities of being a captain first. This is in no particular order, these qualities and responsibilities that we look for in captains, except for the first one. The first one is always the most important. And I actually have a number of the wrestlers that I would have this conversation in private with. Now they get to hear this conversation that I have every year with these kids in front of 200 other athletes from across the state. But the first one, and always the first one, is they need to know, and you need to know as captains, and appreciate the significance of the role that you have been tasked to fill. It is an honor to be a captain of a team at any time. It is an honor to be put into a leadership position. The magnitude of the significance is extremely, extremely big. So you need to appreciate that. You need to take ownership of your team. You need to take ownership of the position that you've been given. This is your team at this point. It is your year. In 20 years, when you come back to a reunion, you'll talk about the days of being on a basketball team or on a wrestling team or on a football team or cross country team. But the one that's going to come up the most was the one where you were the captain. And that's the one that's going to stick in your mind the most. So appreciate the responsibility and significance of being a captain. You as a senior or you as a natural leader, I can tell you this, you're going to lead no matter what. You have no choice, all right, in whether or not you lead. You do have a choice in whether or not you are a good leader or whether or not you're a bad leader, whether or not you're a good captain, or whether or not you are a bad captain. There are people sprinkled throughout history that were extremely skilled leaders, and they used their skill for evil rather than good. They used their leadership ability for bad instead of to help people out and take a group, be it small or large, and do good things and great things with that. That choice is up to you whether or not you will be a good leader or a bad leader, a good captain or a bad captain. Being named a captain indicates what others currently think of you, which is obviously they think highly of you. Don't take that opportunity and have them change what their thought of you is, what their perception of you is. All right, the other things and responsibilities that we look, qualities and responsibilities that I look for in captains is number one, team first. Team first, sacrifice. Big team, little me is what we often say. If that means in the wrestling sense, wrestling out of your weight class and wrestling up a weight class or 2 weight classes, or in football, playing in a position that you're not normally playing, being moved around, without complaint, you step up and you make that change for the good of the team. So team always comes first, and you have to be able to project that ideal that you have of team first to those around you on the team. The next one is lead by example. You don't need to be the best to be a leader on a team. In fact, many of my captains over the years and leaders over the years on some very good wrestling teams were not the best wrestlers on the team. And there are many years, some of the best wrestlers we had on the team were not the best leaders by far. You don't have to be the best at that sport to be a leader. We do want you to be the hardest worker. We want you to be the one that's always selling out during the training, during the workouts, during the practices, during the contests. It's always focused. You're the first one to arrive. You're the last one to leave. Those things are the indicators that to you, team comes first before individual accomplishments. You are unselfish when it comes to program. You are unselfish when it comes to team. The next, after lead by example, is accountability. Accountability, we go to you to be responsible for many of the actions as a team for the team as a whole. Essentially, you're kind of an assistant coach for us head coaches. The coaches depend on you. Logistically, we need you to get everybody together and head them off to practice like they're supposed to be on time. When we travel and we're getting up in the morning in the hotel room, what time are we getting up? What time are we meeting? We tell the captains, and the captains relay that out to the team in addition to us telling them. it could be as small as what uniform are we wearing for tonight's game? Those are all small little logistical things that we depend on our captains to handle. We also ask them to handle small little conflicts between team members. And if it gets to be big, that they bring it to the attention of the coaching staff. A good team captain will be able to resolve any small conflicts between athletes on the team prior to it becoming something that the coach has to address. You're accountable for the focus of the team as well. Poor performances in practice, poor performances in games, poor performances in matches or tournaments. A lot of times we can look back and attribute it to focus prior to the contest, prior to the practice or during the practice. And we look to the leaders to take charge and to redirect the focus in a positive way that gets those athletes in a mindset to perform at the top of their game. We like our captains to inspire. Now, I don't mean that we need our captains to stand up after practice or before a match and give some inspirational speech like they were in a movie about the big game. In fact, we're not looking for that at all. We want them to inspire through their passion, a passion for the sport. We want them to be able to let the rest of the team know how much they actually love the sport. They love the challenge that's given to them every day at practice, or the challenge that they face when they go out on the wrestling mat against a good opponent, or the challenge that they face going out onto the football field against a team who's better on paper, but still got to play the game, or on the court, or in the pool, or on the anywhere on the golf course. They love the challenge of competition, and they love to compete. They have a passion for competing. It doesn't matter if it's wrestling, football, basketball, golf, swimming, baseball, checkers, chess, or tic-tac-toe. Your captains have to be the kind that want to win. They want to win right, but they want to win. They are competitors all the way down to the marrow of their bones. That's a passion for the sport, but also on a personal level, they show a passion. They show a love of teammates. They show a caring compassion for their teammates. If something's going wrong, they're there to help them through it. And it could be struggling with something at home, struggling at something at school, or struggling maybe with a simple technique that's involved out there on the football field or basketball court or the wrestling match. They have a love for their coaches. They love their coaches and what their coaches do for them. And they trust, and that part of that is trust. So when coaches try to direct them in a certain way that can make them better, the athlete trusts the coach's judgment in what they're doing, and trying to put them in outside their comfort zone in order to get them to be better. In fact, we've had that conversation with our team yesterday at the end of practice about going outside your comfort zone in order to be better down the road. And they have a love for the program. They have a love for the history of the program. They have a love for what the program stands for. On the front of the shirt, when it says Eastside Wrestling, they are proud to wear Eastside Wrestling anywhere in the mall, at church, anywhere, to school. They're proud to be a part of it. And that's a passion for them as well. Our kids know the history of the program. They can name state champions and state championship teams from back in the early 2000s all the way through. They're proud to be a part of it. And, for them, our captains, we want them to have a passion for carrying on that tradition. And that goes for all captains in all sports for all schools. Another show of passion on the personal level is how they handle their fellow teammates. You know, I don't need captains that yell and scream at kids who aren't performing. I need ones that are pats on the back. They remind them of their goals. They try to inspire them to get out of that rut and have a better practice or have a better performance during the game. I need positive energy guys to be our team leaders, to be our captains. If you're going to be a good captain that has an impact on the performance and success of your team by the end of the year, you need to be a positive energy guy, a positive energy girl amongst your teammates. You're not the one that's yelling and screaming and putting teammates down. All right. If there's something, if anybody's got to yell, scream to get the team moving, that's the coach's job. Honestly, the captains have to be the pat on the back people, and get over it. That's fine. I got your back. Let's move on and go get this thing type attitude. Another quality or responsibility that we hold our captains to is you have to be the ones in control. Now, we expect all our athletes to be in control at all times, but the ones that cannot, for any reason, non-negotiable, ever get out of control, they cannot never lose their composure, are the captains. People feed off of how you react to when things go bad. As an athletic director, I expect my coaches to be the ones in control at events, the ones in control at games, at matches. Coaches should have the same view of their captains as I do of the coaches. Athletes feed off of coaches with negative energy. Athletes feed off of coaches who complain to refs. Athletes who feed off of coaches who make excuses. If you have captains that complain about bad calls, you have captains that complain to refs, you have captains that make excuses, all right, the rest of the team follows suit. They feed off of it, they learn from it, and if it's okay for you to do it, it's okay for them to do it. You have to be the one that keeps composure. You have a bad call, get over it, move on, and go perform. You're not the one talking trash. You're not the one letting your teammates talk trash. It is unacceptable for any of our athletes to get ejected, to get unsportsmanlike calls. You have to be the one that, number one, most importantly, is never the one that gets an unsportsmanlike, never the one that gets ejected, and keeps control of the others on your team. So not only do you keep composure of yourself as an example and keep control of yourself as an example, you need to keep control and composure of the team as well as you're out there on the field or on the court or on the match or wherever you may on the mat, wherever you may be. You always have to remember, you represent you represent your school, you represent your program, you represent your family. In many cases, you represent your community. And composure, control, which ultimately are all the main ingredients of good sportsmanship, which the high school league and Eastside High School and myself as a coach, we promote good sportsmanship. Those are the most important parts. So you don't make any of those, the school, the program, family, and community look bad. You want to have people to have a positive look upon all of those parts of your life that you represent. All right. And the last one is you got to be clutch. I look for my leaders and my captains to be the guys that are clutch. And what I mean by that is that you got to be that guy. You got to be that girl on the team that everybody on the team and everybody on the coaching staff wants to have the ball. You, as a coach or a teammate, I want you to have the ball in the last couple seconds of a game. And not only that, you got to want to be that guy or that girl that wants the ball in the last couple seconds of the game. Or you want to be that last deciding match in a wrestling match. The winner, if you win, the team wins. If you lose, the team loses. You want to be that guy. You want to be that girl that's clutch. And it all comes down to one thing. You're not afraid to fail. You don't believe you can fail, but also you're not afraid to fail. And that's what makes a clutch player, a clutch athlete in any sport. And that makes and then down the road, when you're an adult in the real world doing adulthood things, you're going to find out that that kind of attitude, that you're not afraid to fail and or think you can fail, and you're definitely not afraid of it, is going to come in handy when and be a big part of the success that you have later in life in the even more important things as a parent or as a spouse. I appreciate everybody allowing me to speak, in the high school league allowing me to speak, and look forward to any questions at the end of the workshop. Thank you very much, Coach Brooks and Coach Singleton.
Thanks so much, Coach Kosmicki, for those words. Big team, little me. That's what we're going to try to focus on as we move forward. And now our final presenter is Dr. Cottrell Fry Rodan. Dr. Rodan is a former South Carolina High School League champion, as well as a Gatorade Female Athlete of the Year out of Irmo High School. As a college track athlete at the University of Virginia, she earned all ACC honors 3 years. Dr. Rodan, who is affectionately known as Trail, is a free-spirited coach that simply loves to teach and learn. She has been in education for 15 years, and she often says, and I quote, "Teaching is not my job, it is my passion," end quote. Dr. Rodan has taught in Anderson County, Greenville County, Richland County, and currently teaches in Lexington Richland 5 at her alma mater, Irmo. Dr. Rodan has a personal goal of helping as many people as possible maintain health, happiness, and wellness. I would be remiss if I did not share with you. A few months ago, Dr. Rodan returned to the track as a master's athlete and won the national championship in the long and triple jumps and placed second in the 100-meter hurdles. Captains, I present to you Dr. Cottrell Fry Rodan, who will arm you with some best practices in leading your team.
Oh, wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much for that great introduction. It is a passion of mine. So I am so excited to welcome you guys, or to be able to give you guys some tools for your best practices, and give you some ways that you can do all of the things that Coach Combs has talked to you guys about, and then Coach K has talked to you guys about. So let's get to it, y'all. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Wrestling, we've got cheer, girls basketball and boys basketball. So let's do it. I'm gonna share this. All right. All right, so the first thing that you need to know is, to be a great leader, you need to find your leadership style. You don't have to be like other leaders before you. You get to be you. And so the best thing to do is to figure out what your strength is and do that. If you're a quiet leader, then you can listen well, then that's what you go with. If you're great at communicating, then you go with that. If you have motivational skills, then you go with that. So lean into your strength and find your style. So let's talk about what are 5 ways you can find your style as a captain. Okay, so first, lead by example. Second, be consistently confident. So whatever your style is, whatever your way of being a captain, be confident in that. Third, be emotionally disciplined, and we're going to talk about that. Fourth, know your team. So make sure that you're communicating with them. And then lastly, we'll talk about how that communication should look. You should always be clear, confident, and concise. So lead by example. You have to be the athlete you want to see. So when I believe it was Coach Combs was talking about 70 to 90% of the way we communicate is with body language. That goes with people see what you do more than what you say. So find an inspirational mentor or motivator for your own self, follow them on social media so that when you are falling short, you have some place to go to and some resource to go to motivate yourself so you can motivate others. Inspire through your actions. So every chance you get is another chance to inspire your team. So the way in which you conduct yourself is super important. And then the last way that you show up in your actions and your body language shows who you are is people are watching you. So you must decline invitations to destructive behavior. People are going to invite you to do things that you should not do. But as a leader, if you do those things, then your team will also engage in those types of behavior, and it could end up destroying your whole team. And you do need to know you have that kind of power. So here is a motivational video called The Lion's Mentality. Hopefully, if you don't have this or you don't have something in your YouTube log, here's one that you can add to as a that you could use to help motivate yourself and others.
If the lion is the king of the jungle, how can he be the king of the jungle if he's not the biggest? The elephant is probably one of the biggest. He can't be the fastest because that's a cheetah. He can't be the smartest. So he's not the biggest, the fastest, or the smartest. So how does a lion become the king of the jungle? His mentality. That's the only difference of a lion and an elephant. When a lion walks up and sees an elephant, he thinks lunch. An elephant thinks run. It's all mentality. Because when a male lion walks up, he may be outnumbered by a pack of hyenas, but I'm king of my jungle because of my mentality.
What happens when you're a gazelle and you're not being pushed, you're not being prodded, you're not given a reward, nobody's encouraging you? What happens when you're a gazelle and the lion's not chasing you anymore? You stop running. But what happens when you're a lion? When you're a lion, it does not make a difference. You realize that if your family is going to eat, that if that pack of lions is to survive, then you gotta go hunt. A part of being a beast just ain't eating a gazelle. A part of being a beast is the hunt. It's the hunt that they're excited about. They like to see the gazelles run. Then poof, they take off. Because real lions like to hunt. They love the process just as much as they love the prize. And some of y'all just want to score. You don't like the process. You're not in love with the process. A true hunter's goal is not the prize. A true hunter's goal is to hunt. That's what they live for. They live to hunt. They don't just live to catch it. It's the whole process. When you are a true hunter, you don't go by time, you go by the gazelle. When you are a true hunter, you hunt until you get a gazelle, and you don't stop until you get one. And then you get another, and then you get another, and you get another. If you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do, be what you say you're gonna be, you're gonna have to lion me out. You a gazelle, you're gonna come up short. You a gazelle, you're gonna have an average experience. You a student, I need you in lion mode. You an entrepreneur, I need you in lion mode. You try to lose weight, lion mode. You can't do nothing significant in gazelle mode, nothing. Nothing impressive happens in gazelle mode. Nothing happens in run mode, give up mode, quit mode, scared mode, fearful mode, nothing happens. Everything happens in lion mode like I'm coming to get you.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay, so before you go to practice or a game, you must be aware of your attitude. And so you do need to have a practice to have is to have a video or to have a song that you listen to prior to practice that literally triggers your brain that whatever happened before practice, I've got to let that go. And here I am, I'm supposed to lead my team. And that you have that job when you come to practice. So not only does the coach have a job at practice, but you also have a job. And that's to make sure that your attitude is straight and to check yourself before you go to practice. And if you need to have that video or something in your brain to get you ready to go, then do that. Take a deep breath, remind yourself that you're the leader. And then lastly, a good thing to do to lead by example is you should go ahead and get a quote book. So if you're running out of things to say to help motivate your team, a cheat code is to always have quotes available for you. And you can get those quotes even from your teammates. All right, then how to stay consistently confident. When you are confident as a captain, that transcends to your team. And so then you guys become a force to be reckoned with. So confidence is a feeling of trust and firm belief in yourself and in your team. Create a call and response that you and your team say to each other. So after every practice, it's not just the coach's responsibility to have some type of call and response, but you can have a call and response as well. So my dad is the head coach of the University of South Carolina, and he has a call and response that he does with his athletes. And I wanted to go ahead and share that with you because maybe it could be something that could inspire you to come up with one. So he would say, if it's to be, and the athletes would go, it's up to me. And then he would ask who can, they would say, I can. And what's to do? Let's do it. And when they say that, let's do it, they're all they consistently say that, and they confidently say that. And so every time you go into a meet or you go into a practice, you are consistently confident about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so that's another tool you could use, is to make sure you have something that you say every practice to get you guys in gear. Next, when Coach K was talking about staying in control, that's absolutely important. You have to make sure that you are in control. And so there is a tool that you can use to do that. So first, I'm going to show you what it looks like in real time. Have fire in the belly and ice on the brain.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
One of my favorites of all time, right? Because like as an athlete, it is all right to be emotional. You don't do this sport unless you have some kind of passion behind it, or it's okay to care so much that, you know, your heart's beating fast and you want it so bad. It's not a problem. What's a problem is if you can't be emotionally disciplined enough to know when and when not. So here's a practice that I also did for myself as well. I always seem to look like I'm in control, but on the inside, I'm fire. Okay. And so what that looks like is you take a deep breath and give yourself 4 seconds in. And then you breathe 4 seconds out. And when you're breathing in, you're taking whatever emotion that you have in your head, what frustration, what things are bothering you, all of those things, and you're bringing it down into your belly and down into your arms and legs and back to your focus of what you're trying to accomplish. And you never let it out because it's actually good energy that can be used to help. And you don't let it out until it's the proper time so that you can score a basketball goal, or you can, you know, put all of that energy into all the parts that you need to do in order to bring your team forward, okay, or to win the match. So that tactic is one of my favorite tactics of all time, is to learn how to So it's to be okay with the fact that you're emotional, but then know how to transition that emotional way of being into something that can get your goals accomplished. Don't let it destroy your goal. Let it be used in order for you to reach your goal. Okay. All right, next thing that you can use as a tool is to do things to know your team. So you might not be a person who likes to talk to others. I understand that, right? Like you don't always feel like engaging with your team, but it is your job as a captain to know your team. So here are some ways and tips that you can help that happen. You might think it's going to happen naturally. It absolutely doesn't. We're all different. You might not, it's okay if you don't like everyone on your team, but you got to figure out how to like everyone on your team. Okay. And so ways to learn how to like everybody on your team, because, you know, the easiest way to divide a team is to have inner fighting. So you don't have the choice but to figure out how to like everybody. So you can ask your coach to play name games or games to get to know each other better. So the best way to actually bring your team together is if you know each other by name, and if you have particular names for each other that are, you know, fun-loving names, and that helps. Ask your coach if you can have a fun practice where you can show your leadership skills, because at the end of the day, your team is going to need to hear what you are, follow your instructions, and to hear your call to action, as well as be able to hear the coach's call to action. So one practice, not all the practices, but you should go ahead and figure out a way to conduct a fun practice. A team that likes each other plays better together. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, and then this is the last thing. Communication. Your communication, like was said before with Coach Combs, needs to be clear, confident, and concise. You don't have the luxury of getting into a lot of the drama that other athletes might get into. You have to have a focused and clear kind of way that pushes the vision forward, right? So you should know the vision for your team and communicate it often. Okay, the best thing to do is have a hashtag. You should have it on your shirt. You should have it on pins. You should have it on the bows that you might wear. You might have it, you need to have it anywhere you possibly can. You can even write it on a marker, take a marker and write it on your leg. Like everywhere you go, you should have your hashtag, okay? Because this is your year. So the team's brand is your brand and you are that brand. So you can have hashtags. These are just examples that I've seen, or better together, go hard, trust the process, start strong, finish stronger, I can, I will, I do. So what is going to be your hashtag? So that is my homework for you, is to figure out what's your brand and what's the brand for the team. And then what is your vision for the team. And when you get that vision, if you have problems or you don't know what to communicate to your team, you communicate the vision again and again and again and again. And you should never stop communicating very clear, confident, and concisely exactly what your vision is for the team. I hope that this has been helpful, and I can't wait to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rodan. I'll bring back Associate Commissioner Daniel Brooks.
Wow, captains, what a great workshop. You heard from coaches collectively that has over 75 years of experience. I challenge you, captains. I challenge you because you are an extension of your coaching staff. You're also an extension of your teammates. So it's important to us that you take those nuggets that was shared with you today and that you become even a more effective leader, even a more effective captain. We're counting on you. KYP, know your personnel. Retweeting for your teammates. Big team, little me. Love your teammates. Man, what some great stuff today. A quote book, The Lion, Call and Response, Fire in the Belly, Ice on the Brain. If you're not fired up as a captain coming out of this workshop, I don't know. I'm not sure about you, but I am sure about you guys because you're not here by accident. You were chosen to be here. Before I close, I'm always, we at the South Carolina High School Lead are looking for a few leaders from South Carolina to take to the National Federation Student Leadership Summit in July. If this is something that you may be interested in, please let me know here at the lead office. We're always looking for our leaders and looking to expose our leaders to some great things that the high school lead and the National Federation have to offer. And at this time, we're going to be out of time for questions and answers, but there's a few closing remarks that we have to end with. So I welcome back to the stream, Ms. Ramanda, Director of Communications.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Just a couple of things we would like for you to mark your calendars. This Saturday, November 19th at Colonial Life Arena, the state cheer finals will be underway. Class 2A at 10 a.m., Class 3A at 12:30 p.m., Class 4A at 3:30 p.m., and Class 5A at 6:30 p.m. You can purchase tickets at gofans.co. Next, coming up very quickly, right after Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving, December 1st through 3rd, is the football state finals at Charles W. Johnson Stadium, home of the undefeated Benedict Tigers. Class 3A will be on December 1st at 7 p.m. We have two classes on Friday, December 2nd, Class 2A at 2 p.m. and Class 1A at 7 p.m. And the state finals will close out on December 3rd with Class 5A at 12 noon and Class 4A at 7 p.m. And for the winter sports, you all, tomorrow kicks off winter sports preseason. Please remember to always, always, always display good sportsmanship. Please tag the South Carolina High School League on all of your positive happenings. And most importantly, have a great day. And for you all, the hashtag of the South Carolina High School League is hashtag WeAreSCHSL. Thank you so very much for attending this captain's course. We hope that you take those points with you and have a great season.